Hey, y'all. On today's podcast, we explore how to convince your spouse that online business is not a scam.
Welcome to the Flip Lifestyle Podcast, where life always comes before work. We're your hosts, Shane and Jocelyn Sams. We're a real family that figured out how to make our entire living online. And now, we help other families do the same. Are you ready to flip your life? All right, let's get started. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Flipped Lifestyle Podcast. It is great to be back with you again today. I am really excited about today's show. I'm always excited about the show, but I'm super excited about this one because we are welcoming back Daniel Hulsman to the show. And this time, he has brought his wife with him. Katelyn Hulsman is here too. So Daniel, Katelyn, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us. We're really excited to be back, and I'm really excited that nervous that Katelyn is here to talk about what she's doing now.
Thank you so much for including me.
Absolutely. We were so excited. Not too long ago, Daniel posted about you getting involved in the community, and I could not wait to show Shane because the very first words out of our mouth was they have to be on the podcast.
They have to be on the podcast immediately. So for those of you who may not remember Daniel's first episode on the Flip Lifestyle Podcast, it was episode 212. We actually just posted it again in a best of edition on Saturday of last week. And in that episode, we introduced you to Daniel Hulsman. Daniel had written me, I like to call it a scathing email full of doubt and disbelief of what we were doing.
I'm not sure it was quite scathing.
Fury into it as possible.
There was some fury. There was definitely some fury in this email. And, it was very, but I remember looking at that email and I said, hey, I'm going to email this guy back and I'm going to be like, hey, let's talk about this, bro. Let's go back and forth.
And a lot of times when we get emails that are hateful or, whatever, I will just say, you know what, just delete it and move on. But Shane made it his personal mission to get you on board with what we were doing. And he was successful. And I'm happy to say that this is over a year later since we talked to you the first time. And you still love us. We're still all friends.
I remember when you sent me that email. And I think I read the whole email in episode 212. So if anybody wants to listen to that, go back to episode 212 and check it out. But I remember when I read it, at first I was mad, and then Jocelyn was kind of like, delete it. But then I was like, I'm going to get this guy to join the community. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to get this guy to join the community. I write you an email back. You join the community. We bring you on the podcast. Turns out your online business was able to make a little money, right?
Yes, it was. It sure was. Now, but let's be fair. What you wrote me back was not an email. That was a short novel.
Yes. I prefer a novella. That's what I'm going to go with.
Of course.
I'm going to go with a novella. But yes, I wrote you it was an epoch. That's what it was. It was an epoch. And, but it was awesome. And I remember you writing me back, and it was just kind of like, all right, you're right. Let's go.
Shut up now.
All right. So, but then tell us just a little bit, catch us up what's happened since then. You were back on the podcast again. And gave us a little update in episode 263. So tell us where you're at now that we're over episode, what is this? It's going to be 300 and something by the time we release it. So where are you at right now in your online business?
And I just want to say too, it's not been all smooth sailing. If you listen to your second episode, you were having a lot of mental doubts and just trying to overcome some obstacles. So, we've worked through a lot of that through the community. We worked through it on the podcast. And now over a year later, what's going on?
Yeah, so I guess where things are at right now is that we're, treading water is the way I would kind of say. The membership community is inside of our membership site, which we launched a year ago, almost to the day, and it's been going well inside of the community. It's been fun. We've been doing more. Katelyn's given me some ideas that have really been resonating with the people inside the membership community, but we're having a really hard time growing it.
Sure.
We never broken 50, and we've been hovering between 30 and 40 pretty much the whole time. We had a couple of months there where we just got slammed with lots of stuff, outside of online business, and that ended up kind of showing in the results where we kind of lost some customers. So, we ended up getting the churn under control there, but now we're just really struggling to grow it. And at the same time, we've got now we have 2 humans to care for instead of 1 tiny human.
That's right. If I remember correctly, wasn't Katelyn, you were pregnant last time Daniel was on the show, right? Like the baby was
first time.
Yes, it was. The baby was almost here. So how old is the newborn baby now?
He's 6 months old.
Ooh, that's a tough time, y'all.
Yeah, and like
I remember.
people always would tell us like going from 1 to 2 kids is so much harder than 0 to 1, and like I was like, oh, whatever, but it really is very, very difficult.
Very difficult. It's a whole different animal when you've got 2 of them things running around. You know what I mean?
I know. Now we're each of us has one of them at all times.
Yes.
Yeah, what I can't fathom is how people go to 3 and then you're just outnumbered like at all times, or 4 or 5, or we've got a couple of members with like 6 and 7 kids, and I'm like, I don't want to be outnumbered. I like a fair fight. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I'm with you on that one. Yeah.
All right, so let me bring this back a little bit. So, Katelyn, you were a bit skeptical of all this online business stuff in the beginning, correct?
I was, yes. I'm a fairly practical person and fairly blunt, and so when Daniel started to get into this stuff, I was kind of like, well, that sounds really exciting for the people who are able to make that work, but how many people actually, are able to make money doing online business?
Katelyn, you are my people. I totally
Yes.
get you. I totally understand what you're saying. And like, that's where I was too. I was like, well, that's great. I'm sure that some people are able to make it work. They have some kind of special gifts and talents that we don't have. And this is just dreams. Let's move on.
I remember when I first heard someone making money online I was mowing my lawn. A lot of people have heard the story, but I was out cutting my grass. I was listening to a podcast by Pat Flynn, and he, Smart Passive Income. He was talking about making money online, and I just knew it was our destiny. And I jumped off the lawnmower and I ran inside. I busted through, and I remember Jocelyn was standing over by the stove, and she was cooking or doing something for the kids' lunch or whatever. And I told her all about this dream and how awesome it was, and we could do this. And I asked her what she thought, and she was basically like, "Good for them. Go finish mowing grass." Right? Like it was just total dismissed at that moment, right?
Yeah, I often say Shane is a light switch. It's like he goes from off to 100 miles per hour, and I'm more like a dimmer. So I start out and I'm like, I don't know. And then, it takes me a while to come up to his level of excitement. And I'm not sure I ever come up to your level of
I
excitement.
don't think you've ever been.
Maybe like
it's hard to get to this level of excitement all the
I'm
time.
thinking I've maybe been to like 25%.
Maybe. I'm working on getting her to 50%. That's my goal by the end of 2020. Okay. All right. So bringing this around. So Daniel, all right, starts making. I want to go back just a little bit in time to when he actually got in the community and these members started coming. Because listen, I know it's frustrating right now being stuck. There's all kinds of plateaus, right? Like we've hit 3 or 4 plateaus in all of our membership growth over the years, right? And you're kind of at one of those plateaus now where it feels like, oh, how do we grow this thing? It's there. But when he started getting members and it was more consistent, like what was happening in your mind at the time? Like when you saw Daniel get in the community, gets this thing going. Oh, Daniel, real quick, tell everybody about your business again.
Oh, yeah, sure. That's just probably important, right?
That's probably important. Yeah.
Small footnote. The website is for new and aspiring composers who want to get into the gaming industry, writing music for soundtracks for video games, and it's vgmacademy.com.
VGMacademy.com. So you basically help people compose like the score or the background music when you're running through the level or playing in the background of a cutscene or something like that, correct?
Yep. We help them with that, or help them with like kind of the business end of things, which is always really terrifying for folks. It seems. Is
that like negotiating with the game companies and things like that, like how to talk?
Yeah, contracts. Naming your rates, and getting a contract together. Marketing yourself, that kind of stuff.
Gotcha.
All right. And if you didn't listen before, Daniel is into this because he has done this in the past. Tell everybody just like the 30-second version of your experience with this.
Yeah. So actually, I've never composed myself in the past, but what I did was I tried to get into it in college a few times, and there just was no good resource. So out of college, I ended up just getting frustrated with it and decided to make one myself, and leverage the expertise that I had in like some of the areas that are weaknesses for new and aspiring composers. But I also work with a choir, and a couple of times a year we record soundtracks for video games. So I've sung on a few few big video games, and that's a lot of fun.
Awesome. That's amazing. I love your story because I'm a gamer.
Well, and since we're on that subject, I have to bring up something that was in the intake form. I know we need to move on, but it says that you guys met in opera class, so I need to know about this.
That's amazing.
This is just so
Where'd y'all
fascinating.
meet? Opera class.
Well, so Daniel was a music major in college, and I was a music minor. And I guess, we had met before. I think we'd met before this, but the night that I really noticed Daniel was our opera teacher told us, she wanted to have a party at her house, and could we all, meet in this one location if you needed a ride, and she would make sure that the students who had cars would, show up there and offer rides to the students who did not have cars. So I showed up there myself, waiting for a ride. Daniel picked me up in the car. And
did you work with the opera teacher to set this up, Daniel? Was this
totally? You saw right through me, Shane. Actually, this is Katelyn's version. My version is I picked her up on the side of the road. That's the version that I like to tell.
Oh, you tell that version. But so he actually played his car's theme song for me on the ride to our opera teacher's house. So
nice.
I was sold at that point.
Yes, amazing. That's amazing. We have a similar story. When we first, probably about a year, but Jocelyn and I met in a stairwell. We ended up you were a sophomore, was you? I think Jocelyn was a sophomore and I was a second sophomore. You know what I'm saying, guys?
Yeah, pretty much.
So we were in the dorm. You know what I'm saying? And I was coming downstairs to meet some friends of mine. We were going to go out that night, and Jocelyn was coming upstairs. And I guess where had you been? The gym?
I had been at the gym.
She had been at the gym, and I just fell in love on that stairwell. Right? I was like, oh my gosh, who is this? So I stopped Jocelyn, I asked her name, and we talked for just a second. And I was like, well, I got to go meet my friends. I hope I see you around. And she was like, yeah, okay. And then so she goes on upstairs. I go downstairs, and I told my friend I just met the girl I'm going to marry. I told him that.
Aww.
and I didn't see her again. How many days was it until we met again?
I would say it was maybe a week or two.
Yeah, about a week or two. Jocelyn, I was standing at the desk in our dorm talking to the person that was working the desk, and she walked in, and we got to hang out, and the rest is history, as they say. But we actually realized later that we had met before. Jocelyn had lived in another dorm the year before us, or the year before we met, and I was over there to see another girl, and I was hanging out with her.
Your cousin?
No, it wasn't my cousin. It was Amber. It was Catherine.
Oh, yeah.
It was Catherine.
But Amber did live in the same
Amber lived in the same
building
dorm, too. But so we were all in this room together, and Jocelyn, we hear a knock on the door. And
okay, now this is going to date me a little bit.
It's going to date Jocelyn here. Jocelyn opens the door and goes, hey, y'all, can I borrow the phone book? Right? Yeah. I need those yellow pages,
Some
y'all.
of our listeners are probably like, what's a phone book?
Yeah, if you're a millennial, we're sorry. We
actually still deliver them to our house.
We just got one randomly for the first time in years.
Wow.
Oh, yeah, hang on to that.
We're excited about it.
Tell your kids that's the only way you can look up a phone number for 10 years, and then it's like making your kids watch 80s movies. They have to watch The Goonies, Never Ending Story. No, you got to find a phone number in the phone book, guys. And then we'll teach you about the internet later. But then we figured out later that we actually had met, and I kind of remember it, but it was not really. So maybe it was love at second sight, Jocelyn. That's what it was.
Yeah, I don't know. But so one of the things that I need to know about this, do you guys go around the house and sing arias? I need to know this.
Opera? Yeah, are y'all busting out some opera in the morning over coffee?
Actually, it's funny. I wish we did. Although I will say our oldest son is really getting into musical theater now. And so he definitely is walking around the house with a straw hat and a hanger trying to recreate Jolly Holiday from Mary Poppins.
Nice.
Well, I'm going to need to see you guys do one of those viral videos where everyone's singing a video game part. Now, that would be pretty cool.
It's going to happen. All right. So let's come back to today now. So we've got Daniel got this online business idea. He's hating on Shane and Jocelyn. Shane and Jocelyn call him back and say, get in here. He goes out, he sells some memberships, and we get to the point where we are today. So Katelyn's still skeptical, still not totally on board. And then one day in the forums, I see this post in the success forums inside the Flip Your Life community. Success, my wife has joined my team. Okay. So I open it up. I'm going to read this whole thing to you guys because it's epic. All right. Honestly, I never thought I'd see the day. My wife and I have butted heads several times over the years about my former blog now business.
I feel you.
She has severe doubts that entrepreneurship and online business in general, and will not believe that it can replace a full-time income until she's staring that reality in the face. Has Katelyn ever read this? First of all,
I'm thinking not.
She's like, okay. All right. She is currently on maternity leave and has acknowledged that we're really relying on the small, steady monthly income from the online business and has offered help. We've probably had this conversation starting from both ends, me suggesting, her suggesting about 10 times in the past, and it never landed anywhere good. How many conversations between spouses never land anywhere good, right? This time, it ended with me just handing over the login to the business Twitter account and cutting her loose. The next morning, I walk in to get our 3-month-old baby out of the bedroom before he wakes up my wife. Since she's nursing through the night, I wake up early with our 2 sons in the morning and let her sleep a little bit longer. She's usually laying there unconscious, looking like she's been clubbed over the head.
I've so been there before.
Oh my gosh. Everybody with a baby's like, yes. All right. But the morning after giving her the Twitter account, I walk in and find her curled up looking at her iPhone. She looks up at me and says, I've been tweeting. She's been awesome so far. Totally complimentary with the Twitter stuff, finding and responding to relevant, timely stuff. I don't have time to see or react to, making a list of people for me to contact for interviews with notes about why. I have a good feeling about this. Then it says, now, let's see, what does it say here? Now, if only I could get her to see the full-time entrepreneur light at the end of the tunnel. Baby steps. And it just got a mad response because everybody knows your story in the community. And that was an awesome thing to read, man. Like, because when 2 people unite together to do something, you're stronger. Like it's more than just 2 people's efforts. You know what I mean? And it's just awesome to hear that and to hear her coming right now. Now, Katelyn, where are you right now? Like with online business, like you've seen it make money, right? And you know about us and you know about these other people in the community that you can see that are making money. Like where are you right now with it? You're involved, you're doing the thing. Like what's the feeling right now?
Well, I feel very on board at the moment. I had really for years, Daniel had been having me listen to podcasts with him, including yours. And, it was hard for me to kind of come to the place of believing this was something that we could actually make money off of. But I actually had kind of an aha moment on the phone with my best friend. She had been telling me about, trying to, kind of take on more with the kids to give her husband time to work on his MBA. And he had all this, coursework to do. And she was trying to kind of take some burden off him so he would have time to do that. And at the time, we had gone years probably where the business more of a hobby for Daniel. He hadn't been able to, dedicate as much time to it, and it hadn't been generating any kind of income. But I guess I had this conversation with her probably a few months after he had launched the membership site and and it was actually generating some money. And I was sitting there and she's telling me all the things she's doing. And for a second, I realized, oh my God, why have I not been doing this for Daniel? And I realized, I needed to invest in this business that was bringing in money that we were now depending on, the same way that I would be investing if he was, going back to school for, a master's or, whatever, it might be. I needed to actually, treat it like a business now because it had transitioned from a hobby to a business. And I think, when you're in it every day, you don't necessarily realize, this has become something else now, and you need to treat it as, a business now that it's grown into one.
That's amazing. Like we always tell people, we actually talked about this on stage at an event we spoke at recently. The interviewer kind of asked us like, well, how do you get each other on board? And we have a course about this in the Flip Your Life community. And the basic moral of the story though, is you got to prove it, right? Like you can't convince someone that it just works. You can't come in sweaty off a lawnmower and say, I got an idea, and someone believe you. But when you see it and you do it and you grind it and all of a sudden it is making money, and not just money, but like enough money to pay a car payment or enough money to pay the bills or enough money to even pay a mortgage, then it becomes real. And it's a lot easier then to open up to those aha moments of, well, wait a minute, what if I got involved, right? So, kudos to you, Daniel, dude, for sticking with it. Because how long were you in business before you really launched a membership that made some good money? How long had you been doing the VGA Academy?
I think I actually launched the website in 2014.
Oh, wow. So it was like...
Yeah. It was several years.
Yeah, 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, so it was like three and a half, 4 years. And I even remember, like, I don't blame her even for being skeptical of what I was doing, because it was like a situation where I was spending time on it, as a hobby. This was like pre-kids. And I would like do all this stuff. And then, nothing would really tangibly happen in our lives as a result. And I remember I had an aha moment one day where I was kind of like talking and like sort of like almost like really talking about it like it was a business in order of trying to defend how much time I was spending, which obviously was not getting huge results back then. And she said, well, it's a hobby right now. It's not a business until it's making money. And then I had to kind of like really reassess how I was spending my time on it and figure out how to make it work.
Wow, that's awesome, man. Well, I am so glad, and we're gonna kind of turn this story into the normal episode of the podcast, because we really want to help you guys get to the next level. That's our number one mission when we get on the podcast, is let's figure out where you're at and let's figure out where you're going to go next. Okay, but man, I am just so happy for you guys, because it really is an epic turning point when both of you are on the same page and both of you are working together and both of you do see that light at the end of the tunnel. And it's kind of like, man, if we can just get there together, how awesome is it going to be together on the other side, right? And for everybody listening to the podcast right now who, we totally understand the one person having an idea and the other person is kind of not on board. And we know there's a lot of people out there. You've been listening to our podcast for a while. You've been listening to other podcasts, and you know that you hear these success stories and you know it can be possible in your life. And maybe your spouse, whether it's the husband or the wife, we see it both ways all the time. It's just not on board, doesn't believe it, doesn't see it. Just go prove it. Go and make that first $1. Go and make that first $50. Go get those first 5 or 6 members. And once they see that, that's the only way you can get them on board with it. Man, when they come on board, it's going to be amazing.
And I would say, too, just keep planting those seeds. You know how Daniel was having Katelyn listen to podcasts, and I'm sure he has entrepreneurial books laying around and all this kind of stuff. Like, all of those seeds eventually will start growing. And, it took a conversation with a friend about something completely unrelated, but because he had planted those seeds and said, hey, this is possible, I need you to get on board, then that conversation was able to help her open her mind to the possibilities. And, one day something clicked in her mind and she's like, oh yeah, okay, maybe this is possible. So don't give up is what I'm trying to say.
And also too, Daniel said something, Daniel did the work. I mean, 3 years he worked, right? Like, we find a lot of couples, they'll discover online business and they'll just try to talk their way into it. Like, they'll talk their spouse on it, but they're not actually doing anything. You said that there wasn't a lot of tangible benefit, right? But you had your group, you had your blog, you had stuff that you could show that you had actually produced, right? You were consistent with content and all this stuff. So you actually did the work. That's the worst case scenario, is when you hear our podcast, hear our story, and then go tell your spouse that this is going to happen, and then you don't do anything. You just keep telling them how it's going to happen. You got to do the work. So the work added up, the seeds added up, the conversations added up. Then you made some money, and now it's off to the races, right?
Well, I think it's also in marriage. I think probably everyone feels like this, where time is just such a precious resource.
Amen.
And so, we found ourselves a lot of the time trying to, prioritize, what do we need to do today? What do we need to do tomorrow? And I think in that conversation I had with my friend, I realized that, too often it wasn't, a conscious thing on my part. I wasn't trying to prioritize lower than some other things, but I was doing that. It was the thing that I could kind of put lower when we had a more urgent issue.
Yeah.
And it just it made me realize, no, this needs to be a top priority because it really is something we depend on now. And I will also say that, we've always tried to, kind of support each other's interests. And so I had listened to a lot of the podcasts with him, even though it wasn't, my interest in the beginning. And it was really exciting for me when he started listening to yours, because it was the first one I had heard that was really more like family first.
Yeah.
And that was kind of eye-opening for me because, a lot of the other podcasts I had heard and, stories that I had heard about other entrepreneurs had been, single people going after it and, kind of doing it on their own. And it was a little, concerning to me. How do you do it as a family? How do you balance that? And how do you allocate your time? And so that was a turning point for us as well when I really started listening to you guys, because, you talk a lot more about how you've been able to work it out with your family and the choices that you've made to make it work for you. So, that was also something that really helped us out.
Let's go one step further. Like what about, okay, so you listen to our podcast, right? And you see, okay, there's a husband and wife. They actually care about their kids. They're not living on a beach in Thailand somewhere on $6 a day, right? Like how did the community show you anything? Like when Daniel got into the community and you see, wow, it's not just Shane and Jocelyn. There's literally hundreds of other people in here. And the success story forum now has like, I can't remember. It's something like 4,000 posts total in it, right? So when you see like this community open up in front of Daniel, did that have any impact on was that another seed that was planted? Like, wow, it's not just an MLM. There's not a big pyramid going on over here. These are all individuals doing it individually, but walking together. Did that make any difference in what you saw?
Yeah. I mean, he started talking about posts that, were being made in your community and
questions I was asking and getting answers to. And yeah, she's never jumped into the forum herself, which you can obviously tell because that was her first time hearing my little spiel about her joining my team. But yeah, I mean, she's never jumped in there, but I started talking about how, I was going in there and asking questions and getting not only answers from YouTube, but answers from other people and suggestions. And I don't know how visible it was because the community for me, like one of the biggest benefits that I get out of it is when I'm feeling stuck or in crisis or like in doubt, I can kind of get in there and get support for that.
Love it.
And now it's I don't need that as much because I've got my wife on board, which is awesome. Now we're like talking about it together, and because now she's getting more into it. She's kind of going through like a lot of like the phases that like I went through at the beginning of the journey, and so like she's things that's still there like to go away. But it's funny. I guess it's a funny dynamic now where it's like, I feel like she's experiencing things that I've already experienced, but I'm still experiencing. So I can talk about them, but I'm not over them myself yet. So it's nice to be able to, talk about that with her. But, the community definitely was super helpful, especially during those months in the winter when I was really having a tough time.
Okay, guys, this thing has come a long way, and we're very proud of you for where you have been and just where you've come from and where you're going. So let's talk about what is holding you back right now as you're trying to move forward. What kind of fears or mindset issues are going on that's just causing you some problems?
Well, for me personally, I think because I'm really so new to all of it, I get nervous every time there's a new competitor. Daniel laughs at me because I'm like, this person's doing the same thing. And I get very worried about it. And, I see everything crumbling the minute there's a new competitor. So that's been a little bit of a learning experience and also, fear of mine. And also, we've talked about being plateaued a little bit. I think I'm a little nervous about, where do we go from here? What's the next, avenue you choose? And, is it possible we might choose the wrong avenue and kind of have to backtrack? So, Daniel has a really great foundation, but I'm kind of playing catch up a little bit. So, that's sort of where we're at, I think.
Yeah, and you've also talked to me about like not being worried that we've hit the cap, like we've hit the ceiling already.
Yeah.
And is this it? If it is, what do we do time wise? If it's not, what do we do next? So
does every cancellation feel like an arrow to the chest? Is that like
it
does
does?
It cause like anxiety and like, oh no, someone else left? How do we replace them? Like, and
I feel like I've disappointed someone when they cancel.
Yes, I totally get that. I feel the same way when people cancel. But, I think that the competition thing is kind of hard sometimes because you're out there looking and you see things because you're looking for it. But a lot of times people don't even know competitors are out there. The internet is a big place. If they're happy with your membership, they're probably not looking around other places. And if they find you just on a random search or like say an ad or something, and they get to you first, chances are they're not looking around saying, it's not like Amazon.
Compare.
Yeah, it's not like Amazon and Walmart. Like if I find something I want, I'm going to see if it's cheaper on Amazon or Walmart because they're two totally different products. Like you're a different person. You have different skill sets and experience than this other person who's doing something similar. You have different personalities, all those types of things. So really, it's not competition so much because they're totally different. Like some of the people are going to be your people, and then some of the people might be this other person's people, I
always consider online business a lot like golf. Golf, you have to go out and play your game, right? Like you can't if full contact golf would be an amazing sport to watch because you could run over and tackle a guy right in his backswing, or like maybe you could scream at the guy ahead of you. You know what I'm saying? But that's not how it works. Golf, all you can do is play your game, and then you look up at the leaderboard at the end. So Jocelyn and I don't even look at competition a lot. We try to ignore it as much as possible because you get into comparison. Comparison is the thief of joy. You can't be happy in what you're doing, and you just can't focus on anything else. And the truth of the matter is, the internet is so big, and all niches are big. All niches, if you've got 100,000 people in the world that want to do something, that's a huge niche. And you only need, 100, 200 of them to make a really good living on the internet, right? So the best thing to do about competition is just ignore it. When you find someone that's doing what you do, try to not even look at them. I actually made this terrible mistake last week. Our history site, we're ramping up for back to school right now, right? So we sell lesson plans to history teachers. And I got on to this third-party marketplace called Teachers Pay Teachers. And I started looking and I realized there's like 20,000 people selling worksheets for history teachers in this third-party marketplace. So technically, even though I have a membership where people can get all my lessons, they're kind of my competitors, because people can go buy these one-off things. And I got to thinking, oh my gosh, then I found this one guy. He has 40,000 four-star reviews on Teachers Pay Teachers. 40,000.
Wow.
That's insane. Like he probably got in early. He's been there forever. And but our website still makes thousands and thousands of dollars a month, right? So I don't need all of his one-off sales or his thing. I can't compare myself to him. We're not the same person. We're selling a different product. It's got a whole different vibe. Yeah, it's Abraham Lincoln was the 16th president, right? That's the same, but like at the end of the day, they're different and they're going to be a little different and people are going to have different needs. And I only need like a couple hundred of those people in the world that do this thing. So try to ignore competition as much as possible on the internet. It's not like we're both opening, a fried chicken shack across the street from each other and we're both trying to sell fried chicken, right? Like we're in a different town. We're in a different place. These people are all over the world. And our goal is just to get you from 50 to 100, then 100 to 200. And now we're off to the races. And if everybody else in the market goes somewhere else, you've got your core. And that's what matters.
And really, it's a good thing when somebody else starts something similar because they see that there's a market there, that there's money to be made. And, that's good news for all of us. And I know it seems like, oh, well, these people are competing against me. There's a small market or whatever, but it's probably bigger than you think. I mean, there are probably thousands of people out there who don't even know that either of you exist.
Yeah. And also, too, remember this. Collaboration can exist online that can't exist like in a small town mom and pop type business, right? You can eventually befriend these people and you can help each other because consumers on the internet are collectors, especially people who are learning stuff. If I want to learn something, like if I buy a book about real estate, I got into real estate, a couple years ago. So I bought my first book about real estate. You know what I did after that? I bought like 10 more books about real estate, right? So sometimes there's even opportunities to reach out to quote unquote competitors and be like, hey, I see that you sell your products in the first and third quarter. What if we did an affiliate and you did it and you sold mine in the second and third? You could make extra money. You could offer your people something new. I could do the same for you. And we give people more information that they can go succeed with. They like you better because you introduce them to someone cool, and you get this more cyclical nature of helping each other instead of hurting each other. Now, there will be people who are just hyper competitive. They want to be the top dog, and they're not going to do that. So collaboration is not always possible.
It's not always the answer for everyone.
That's right.
You might not want to do it, and that's cool, but just look at it more as an opportunity than a threat.
Yeah, and get out there and just like run your race, play your game. It's your shot. You swing, and then let the chips fall where they lay at the end of the round. Okay.
Sounds good.
Does that make sense? That makes sense, right?
Yeah, no, actually it's hitting home. Daniel has a much better attitude with that stuff than I do.
Yeah.
And you're kind of speaking to some of the inclinations he probably already has to kind of befriend people who are doing the same thing.
I'll tell you another thing here. The danger is you're dealing with a lot of the social media type stuff and stuff like that. So you're actually going to probably see that more because you're not really making content. You know what I'm saying? When you're in content, you're on your cave, right?
And then I have the decision of, do I tweet this person out? Do I tweet about somebody who's going to compete with what we do? It's very strange to me.
Yeah.
But I'm still, I'm playing catch up. So it's
always ask yourself this: will it help my potential customer? Will my customer smile when I share this with them? Will my customer be happy that I helped them, that I recommended something that could make them go to the next level? Even if it's a little close to what we're doing, will they have affinity for me so much that they'll come back and join us anyway? Because I always lead them to the good stuff. That's usually how you understand if you're sharing somebody else's stuff, right? So if I'm going to retweet something from one of our friends or somebody, like Pat Flynn's our direct competitor. He sells exactly the same courses we do.
Well, a lot of people sell the
courses that we do. But I share his stuff sometimes, like we're going to promote his book really hard here in a couple of weeks, because we're in the book. Too, like it's our friend and like he's doing the same thing, and like I know the book will help our people, so that's usually how you kind of solve that dilemma. Is this going to help someone? Is it going to drive affinity back to me? And do those two things add up to maybe a potential member down the road? If they do, then go ahead, share it. Don't worry about it. Think abundance, think collaboration, and think about running your own race to be fine. Okay.
Yeah, no, that's a great attitude to have about it. And actually, Daniel had a while ago, sort of, someone be a little prickly with him a long time ago. And
I would never know what a prickly customer would sound like.
Yeah, this is a new experience, Shane. I'll tell you all about it. Don't worry about it.
Goes around, comes around, son. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it was not a customer, but it was another industry person who was a little prickly with him. And one day, I was looking through things. I saw this person's name and I kind of tried to avoid it. And Daniel was like, no. Like, we should reach out.
Yes. Hey, listen.
And I thought to myself, well, that's a great way to look at it.
My dad always told me if someone's like they're really like prickly, I guess that's a great word actually, about you, like with you, and they're like, or they do something that harms you or hurts you, or they say something to kind of put you down or whatever. He said, every time you see them, do not let them avoid you. You walk up, you shake their hand, you get 6 inches from their face and say, how you doing? He said, you never let them see you back down. You always go straight up to them and you just kill them with kindness, right? And we were at an event a couple of weeks ago, and a few years ago we had a little, I don't know if it would be a disagreement. What would you call it, Jocelyn? It was a moment of
slight.
It was a slight. We were slighted by someone in the industry. Okay. And we came in and we saw him at this event, and I went right up to him and right in his face, shook his hand, hugged him, and like, hey, how you doing? Good to see you again. This bam, But you know what? That opened a conversation, and we sat in a back room one day and we really talked out the slight, and we actually kind of had a good little, it was amicable. We were at the end of it.
Everyone was still
Everyone
friends.
was still cool.
And,
Everyone was still friends.
No barroom fight broke out.
That's right.
Or anything
That's
like
right.
that.
I'd have won if it did. I'm just saying. I'm a big guy. No, I'm kidding. But but we did that, and it was like that's a great attitude to have even with your competitors. Like, you don't have to share his stuff, but hey, we're pulling for you. No big
and
deal.
people don't really know what to do when that happens. We had a situation.
It kills Jocelyn. It scares Jocelyn to death because I look over and go, I'm going to talk to him. She goes, oh my God. Then I just walk over there.
No, but I've kind of started doing this too. Like this has sort of rubbed off on me a little bit. We had a situation locally not too long ago with one of the activities my kids are involved in. But anyway, we had a disagreement with some of the coaches and stuff. But anyway, we talked about it, and I think some of the other people that I'm friends with, they were expecting us to avoid each other, but I just walked in and I'm like, hey guys, how are you?
Right into the room with them.
And people don't even know what to do when you do that. They're just confused.
Yeah.
But it's fine now. It's no big deal. Everyone's moved on and whatever.
And again, you don't have to be best friends with anybody, That's why we try not to look at what anybody else is doing, especially when we're making decisions. We'll watch the magician's hands a little bit, but most of the time we're just let's do our own thing. Let's see what works and then compare it maybe to other people, right? Because then we're not polluted by what our competition's doing. Okay.
All right, guys. Hopefully that helps you bust through that fear of competition and competitors and all that type of thing. Let's talk about how we can move this business forward. What questions can we help you with as you're trying to grow?
So I think we've got, maybe a couple of things that we still really wrestle with. One is, like we were saying earlier, that we feel kind of stuck between the 30 to 50 number of members in our membership. And then the other is just sort of balancing business and family time. And, still, I think it's still really tough for us to prioritize because everything, with anyone who's got kids knows that when you got two small children, everything feels urgent. So it's still kind of tough for us to know what we're still trying to find the balance is I guess what we're saying.
Well, and because I've been doing a lot of the social media, I don't want to feel when I'm with the kids, I'm also on my phone, but then with the
right.
So I'm having a hard time of figuring out, when is family time versus when is business time, because business time could be at any time. And I want to make sure that we're still getting those quality family moments, but not neglecting the business, because obviously in the past, maybe I deprioritized the business a little bit, maybe when I shouldn't have. So that's kind of what we've been wrestling with. And also, kind of an aside to that is just, kind of finding my place in the business, because this is really Dan's baby. And so, it's kind of hard to figure out, I'm not an employee, but I'm also not really a full partner, and trying to navigate that kind of, balance, I guess you would say.
And I bet since you've gotten involved too, all your conversations are about business. It's how you feel like you talk about.
Yes.
It's like babies or business. That's it, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's been my life for about the past 7 years, something like that. Okay, so let's address the family stuff first, because I know all about mom guilt. I've had it for a very long time, 10 years. That's how long I've been a mom. But the way that I like to deal with it is to calendar everything. So we use Google Calendar, and we share a Google Calendar together. We always put our family time on first. So anything that the kids have to do, if they have sports activities or other activities, we put that on first, and that's always our priority. We put quality time with the kids on. So if we take them to the water park, if we do another activity together as a family, we put that stuff on, and then we put business stuff on. I've said it many times on the podcast, humans are terrible multitaskers. We think we can multitask, but we cannot. We're very, very bad at it. So what you have to do is you have to block out times. Now, this is harder with babies because, if somebody needs a diaper change, they need a diaper change. You can't really be like, oh, sorry, it's business time. You have to wait a couple hours. I mean, that's not going to work. Okay. And we get that and we recognize that. But at the same time, you need to have times blocked out to work on the business, preferably if you can get someone to watch the kids for you. Even if it's a student, a high school student, somebody who could even be in the house with you. Like if you can even pay them a little bit to just keep the kids away for just a little while so you can have really focused time to do your work, and that's your work time. And, anything else for the kids can wait. So make sure they're fed, make sure they're changed, all that kind of stuff. If an emergency comes up, yes, you got to deal with it. But otherwise, don't feel bad about saying, okay, right now it's mommy's work time. You're going to have to do something else for a little while, and I'll be with you in just a little bit.
And also, too, focus on quality, not quantity. This is something that Jocelyn and I have really wrestled with in the last couple of years, big time, because our team is growing, our websites are growing, our stuff is growing, and we're really starting to see, like, literally, we're together 24 hours a day.
Which is wonderful.
Which is great most of the time. But sometimes it's like we've been together for 24 hours a day, right? And we've been really conscious of, and then all those conversations are like, kids are business. That's all we talk about, So we've really focused more on, like, we drove down to Knoxville, Tennessee the other day to go to dinner. And Jocelyn basically said when we got in the car, I don't want to talk about business until we get out of this car. This is an hour and a half where we could just not talk about business, right? Let's talk about something else. So we might talk about a trip that we're going to go on, or we might talk about something we're going to do. So even just blocking really disciplined, intentional once or twice a week, can we just not talk about business for 30 minutes? Like, it's off limits. We don't get to talk about it. Both people have to come up with one other thing to talk about, right? Just even that at the house. I'm not talking about going out to dinner. I'm not talking about driving somewhere. I'm just like, hey, this hour right here on Thursday night from 8 to 9, no one gets to say anything about Twitter or the Video Game Academy, right? Stuff like that really goes a long way, and it doesn't take much. It really doesn't. You just need those gaps to let your brain kind of reset. And also, too, like, get away from each other a little bit. Like, don't, if you feel yourself like 3 days in a row always talking about business, even when Jocelyn will come into the room and just lay down at night and read or play a game on her phone, and I might go just go sit in the other room, and we're just not in the same room. So that way you kind of have some, like, absence makes the heart grow fonder in the house, right? Like, you don't have to be up in each other's grill talking about business all the time. But people forget that because they think, oh, we worked on business for 8 straight hours. Now we have to go on a date and be romantic for 2 straight hours, right? Like, that doesn't work. You can't do that. You can't be together 10 hours and there be any romance. There's a lot of no-mance at the end of 10 hours together, right? So, so like, getting away from each other, even, like, if you did this right now, 1 30-minute block where you weren't allowed to talk to each other for 30 straight minutes, right? Preferably with the kids at someone else's house. And then 1 30-minute block where you were not allowed to talk about business. You had to talk about something else that happened. That would go a long way to just giving you some boundaries in the house. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I would recommend getting, like he was saying, getting the kids, like, totally away from you, even if you can do it 1 day a week. Like, the other day I was shocked. Shane had taken the kids somewhere, and I had something that I really needed to work on. And I got more done in that hour and a half than I got done with probably like a day and a half if the kids were here. And I was, like, shocked at how much I was able to get accomplished without them being like, Mom, can I have a snack? I need your help pouring the milk.
Yeah.
Can you make me some macaroni? All those kind of things. Like, you would think that my kids are 10 and 8, they would be a little more self-sufficient. Well, not so much.
Not so much. It's like they get worse as they get older. But, like, even for each other, like, if you can't find childcare, I know a lot of people are listening right now going, well, I can't find childcare. I don't have a babysitter. Well, you got 2 of you. So one of you take the kids somewhere for an hour and just sit on a park bench if you have to, and let the other person have a minute to breathe.
Yep, we used to do
switch.
that. Do a mom swap. If you know a mom locally who needs the kids to go somewhere for a little bit, but they don't have a lot of money, swap with them. Take their kids for a day. You let them take your kids for half a day, whatever. And just make it work. Like, that's what we used to do before we had a lot of extra money to hire people. We would do things like that. You have to get creative.
And just don't feel guilty about it, right? Like, when you feel yourself getting frustrated with each other, because you will, it's like Jocelyn always says, we bring out the best in each other.
Most times.
But occasionally the worst, right? And that's going to happen. Just recognize there's 2 ways to do it. Like, don't talk about business and get away from each other for a few minutes and give each other a break. If you can do those things, then that's going to calm that problem down. All right, let's get into some more technical stuff about the business here, some deep strategy. Tell us a little bit about where you're at. It sounds like you said earlier you've got the churn problem under control. So you're at least adding enough members to cover people that cancel right now. But that's a slippery slope. Like, that's the edge of the mountain, right? We're walking on the edge. We don't want to fall off.
Mm-hmm.
So what's happening? How are you getting the new members? How much are you promoting the membership? How much time and money are you investing in the membership? Because the goal now is to get to 100. 100 is an amazing place to be in your membership. That's a stabilizing point. And we want to get this thing, you're saying you're floating 30 to 50. We want to float 100 to 150. So what are you doing right now to promote the stuff? You're being consistent, but like, how are you being prolific in your promotions?
I'm not. I guess so I'll tell you what I'm doing. I mean, there's always more that you can do, and I'm not doing very much. I'm, been pretty strapped with both kids at home this summer. I'm a teacher, so I'm at home during the summer. But, what the main way we're getting new people into the site in general is through a quarterly 21-day challenge. So every quarter I've been doing this. I started doing it quarterly after you told me to last year. And it worked. It worked. And so I'm getting, anywhere between 300 to 500 people signing up for this challenge every quarter. And I'd say like 100 to 150 of those people are brand new people to this, who've never signed up for anything before. But then, at the end of the 21-day challenge, I do a promotion for the membership. And that's when I really kind of like hit it hard via email. And I pitch them pretty hard, with some of the templates and like some of the examples that I saw in the community. The trick is that, the unfortunate thing is that, we do these like 3-week challenges. We get to the end, and the first 2 times back in last July and then last October, that was like when I was in beta mode and promoting it as like, this is a beta, this is the lowest price it'll ever be. Those 2 went really well, and I ended up getting like 20, 25, 30 per, for each of those 2 launches. And then after that point, I, raised the price and in January, and ever since then it's been like 2 people, 6 people, 1 people. So it's really kind of grinded pretty, almost to a halt there. And I really had to kind of fight to just get a handful in. How much is the membership now? It's $29.99 per month.
Okay. And how much was the one that was the last time it got like a good amount, like 15 to 20?
19.
Okay.
19 a month.
All right.
But then at the end, but what I'm doing is I'm also like, you can go to the website and sign up for the membership at that price now. And in January, I launched it at that new price, and I didn't do any like promotional pricing or anything on it. And I got 1 or 2 people, I think 2 people signed up at the price. And then, the next time I did it, I tried like a 25% discount, for 3 days only for just the people who signed up for the challenge. And I got like 6 people that time, but then I just did the same thing, and I only got 1 person this last time.
Right.
So I think that I kind of painted myself into a corner a bit, like discounting a membership, like probably not a great strategy in general. But I do, I think there are a lot of possible things that are not working. I just don't know which to really dive into. Part of me says like getting new people in, like in general, but I don't know.
Well, and one thing that we talked about a little bit was I had kind of talked to Daniel about, is there a way to make it easier for people to kind of come across the membership in times when you're not running a challenge? Because for a while, I think that part of his website was a little buried. I think you've brought it out a little more obviously now, but I think we're struggling with when you use social media, how much are you, does it come across as too salesy if you're using social media to sell a membership, and we had recently, he put up a post in his Facebook group advertising, the membership site after the challenge. And we had somebody make an angry face at it and leave the Facebook group, which we were a little surprised by.
Which like rocked Katelyn's world for a day.
It did.
She was like, someone gave an angry emoji.
Oh,
what have we done?
How many people are in your group right now?
I think 1,700. If not, it's really close.
So 1,700 people didn't emoji the post, but one person did. Dun dun dun.
We're just gonna close up shop now.
It's the one Goomba at the end of the level that got you. You know what I'm saying?
Yep,
like,
exactly.
You can't let that bother you. Like, that's gonna happen. Like, people get mad at me. I had a guy on my history site last night. I post these funny memes, and I posted a picture that was totally like benign. And this guy basically, and I post my real name on that site, on that Facebook. It's like 6,000 followers, and I post my real name on there all the time. And the guy said, "Shane Sams, you're an effing moron." Straight up said that right on the comments of the thing. And I just posted a little picture of Sylvester Stallone with the word joke going over his head. Like, I just totally trolled back. But like, you can't don't let the emoji warriors get you, right? Don't let the emoji warriors get you. You can't do that. So, okay, well, let's break this down. One, I think you need to do more challenges. I actually think you need to do a week-long challenge. You need to evolve that process, and you need to do it probably every month. Like, if you could do it 1 week every month now, okay, let's ramp it up. But what you're going to have to do is do you have more than one challenge, or is it the same one every 3 months?
It's the same one, but the theme of it and like the content changes a tiny bit.
Okay. So what we've got to do is we've got to make them feel, you need two that you can go rotate like back to back. So like one, and you just need to, and this is going to be on you because you got to figure out how this works within the context of what you're doing. But like maybe one is like all about, I know that your challenge is about composing music, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Maybe you could do more of a little bit of a challenge about maybe like the business aspect of getting into the business. Like maybe.
I was about to say like that was kind of one concern I think I'm having is that people getting into the challenge are like people who are doing it for fun.
Yes.
And so I'm not getting people who are really serious about it professionally.
Yes. So if you had two challenges, one was all about the music and one was like you could theme it kind of like you could show them the process basically of getting in and out of the business, right?
Well, I think there's even a way of bridging those people who are doing it for fun. Like maybe even just put a bug in their ear. Hey, did you know that you can make money off this?
That song could make you money, right? So so I think you need to do the challenge at least once a month.
But I would like to see it as automated as possible. Like when you do it the next time, really write out the procedures if you haven't done this already. So that way maybe even Katelyn could help you, or, eventually you guys could get a virtual assistant to help you to be able to roll those parts of the challenge out. So it's not so manual every time.
You're doing it live? Is it like you did this for 3 weeks though, you said, right?
Yeah, so and just so you know, too, Katelyn, I had to step away for a minute to go check on the baby who was with my mother downstairs.
Our kids will be ring in here at any minute. That's what happens. Yeah. This is real life, y'all. Listening to the podcast.
Yep, it's real life. So, but like I said, 3 weeks. So yeah, it's 21 days, once every 3 months, and a lot of it is automated or it's automatable. So like the emails I've already written, they're already automated. I just have to like basically recreate the workflow that sends the emails every time.
If you could take that challenge and get it down to a week and they don't do the whole thing, like if you could, and this is a simple way of saying this, we'd have to talk about it more, but like if you could take the first week and that was the actually part of the challenge where they got to a point where they could feel the result, but they weren't quite done, and then the rest of the challenge lived in the community, I think you could pitch it every month. You know what I'm saying? Because like the goal is to get them started. I know that you write like a whole piece of music or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's like you have to write it like an idea. So it's basically just like about like making sure you're getting new ideas generated every day and not just like sitting there stuck with a blank screen, stressed about not writing anything.
So if we could condense a part of that down to the 1 week challenge and we could change it just a little bit, you could open and close it more often. So like right now, if you got 6 every 3 months, next time you'll probably, if you got 3 every month, that'd still be more, right? It'd be 9.
Yep.
Like, it'll probably get more because it'll get more momentum because you open and close it. So it's like open on Monday, closes on Friday. We don't do it again for 3 weeks. So you just do your normal stuff. Then the challenges, the August challenge is opening, the September challenge is opening, the November challenge, whatever, you know what I'm saying? So like opening and closing more challenges is definitely like the next step. Okay. But now you do have to get more traffic. You've got to get more people in that group. Like that's going to be the goal. So I'm wondering like what you're doing to get people to grow your group or grow your email list.
Yeah, I mean, when I talked to you in December, I was kind of like in survival mode. So we just sort of, you gave me a lot of permission to kind of like not do that. And so I've really been focusing on like the membership and stabilizing that. So right now I'm just starting to like get a little bit more content going. I've done a couple of interviews that I've posted on the sites. I don't have a podcast, but it's something I'm, an idea that I'm kind of playing with. I've got a YouTube channel that I do nothing with. I've like put a couple of videos like years ago up as like just a way to embed videos on a blog post. And I've got like 350 subscribers. So like I could go maybe in that direction. So there's a lot of directions I feel like I could go. I do have like an exciting opportunity later this month where I've got a Grammy nominated composer that I'm going to be interviewing live, probably on Facebook Live. And so, we're going to hopefully get a good, live audience for that.
Awesome.
And then he's going to be in our members only area a few days after that. So, I'm going to use that. It's not only a way to promote what he's working on, but then to plug the membership at the end. But other than that, I mean, I'm not really buckling down and like creating a lot of content right now. I really feel like I need to sit down and like plan out social media and then like get that all going.
Sure.
Because what Katelyn's doing is great. It's like really reactive. It's really timely. And then for me, like really, what I would need to do is sit down, like kind of thoughtfully plan promotions and schedule all the automated stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Our general rule when we're trying to grow our businesses is, and we say this all the time, but is to be consistent, to be prolific, and be relentless, right? Consistency always goes to that one piece of content that comes out every week. Like it's our podcast. That's our consistent thing of content. Prolific always talks directly to being to promotions. Like how are you going to promote every day? I wake up every day, and while my coffee is literally pouring into the pot, I think to myself, how am I going to promote today? I don't care if it's one email, one social media post, one tweet. I've got to do something to tell somebody that I've got something for sale. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, it could be promoting content. Like on Tuesdays, I always send an email out that we have a new podcast come out. Right. On Wednesdays, I might send an email that says, hey, did you catch last week's podcast? Okay. But on Thursday, I might say, hey, we've only got 13 tickets left to Flip Your Life Live. On Friday, I'm going to say, hey, you need to join the Flip Your Life community. You've been sitting around listening to the podcast for 2 years. What are you waiting on? Right. And then I'm just constantly every day trying to figure out how can I promote? What can I promote? And I actually have a 30-day calendar at the beginning of every single month. I actually include this calendar in Prolific Monthly, my newsletter. And like, it's to show, it's exactly like, this is what I do to promote what I'm going to do in August or September or October to promote our membership. Okay. And that's probably the next level. What you're going to have to think is, how do I promote content to get more cold followers? How do I promote my membership to get more people to join? And then how do I follow up with people I know are on the edge? That's another thing I do every day is reach out to people who I know are interested. Like if I get an email back off of one of our autoresponders, I got this one email that goes out and it says, what's frustrating you? I always write those people back because everybody's one question away from buying your product, right? So like stuff like that is the next level, and you're going to have to figure out how to manage that with that little baby we hear talking in the background. I
love those little baby noises.
Love those baby noises. I miss them. But like that's where you've got to go next, is being prolific with your offers once a month at least, some kind of challenge, and then being prolific promoting your content, and then being relentless. Like every day someone needs to hear about this academy, right? They need to know it's there, right? Even if it was just a social media post at 10 o'clock, like, hey guys, the thing's open now, check it out. Every other day, that would be good.
Yeah, I think I just really kind of paralyzed, like, because there's so many different directions I could run with in terms of like, what to do. I mean, a lot of my content I feel like is old. Like I've got a couple of newer things now, but a lot of it I wrote years ago, and a lot of it's still relevant. It's just, I don't know. That makes me, there's more I can be doing that it's like way more timely and relevant now. And then in terms of promotion, again, it's Twitter's like mainly what I've been focusing on for years. And I've got this Facebook group. So I don't know if I should just kind of stick with those two and just try to get more people following in both of those places, or if I should try to do the thing where you make a video and turn it into a YouTube video and a podcast, or just like try to do a podcast and keep it super simple. There's so many different ways I feel like I could get new people to the site. It's just a little overwhelming to kind of pick one and run with it.
Well, that's what you got to do. You got to pick one and run with it. That's what most people won't do, that because they all work. You'll find a millionaire on every social media network. You'll find a millionaire in every business. You'll find someone making a living online doing everything. But they usually pick one thing. Like the pizza guy who owns the pizza shop picked pizza instead of hamburgers. That's why he's making money, right? So that's really it. Like, pick one timely thing to do a week and then promote everything else you've ever created every other day. It's so much easier, and that will keep you from getting overwhelmed. So just pick that one path that feels the most right to you right now and just do it for 6 months and see where that takes you. That's probably going to be your best bet.
You're doing a lot of things right already. So I feel like you just need to do more of the things right.
Yes.
So you need to find a way to make it work where you can basically pitch these people more often. Maybe it's not a 3-week challenge. Maybe it looks like something different. So if challenges are working, how can you find a way to make one work more often?
Yeah. And you may have to rewrite the whole challenge model, but challenges work. But you just need a couple to rotate. That way it's not the same challenge every single month. Does that make sense? So yeah, that's how you become more prolific at challenges. You say, all right, this worked. Scrap the 3-week thing. I'm going to have, hey, remember the 21-day challenge? Now we're doing a 7-day challenge or a 5-day challenge. And the same amount of people are going to join. The same amount of people are getting involved. They're just going to hear your offer more, which is going to equal more sales, basically.
Yeah. I actually kind of really like the idea of like alternating and doing a different kind of challenge, like with the more business centric stuff too, because then I know I'm at least getting people who are more interested in making a career out of it than people who are really just enjoying the process already.
Absolutely. All right, guys, we've had so much fun talking today. There's so many exciting things going on in your world, and I'm really, really excited to see what is going to happen for the future of the site. But before we go, we always like to ask, what is one thing that you plan to take action on based on what we talked about today?
I guess for me, it's figuring out one way, one path to promote way more prolifically, and, decide how, what I'm going to do to grow, getting more cold people into the website environment, and then just kind of hit that same nail over and over again for a while.
And one takeaway that I have is I'm going to stress a lot less over the competitors and the angry emojis.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
And focus more on, the people who are receiving and, enjoying the content and potentially giving us constructive feedback. Worry a little less about, the people I'm not getting, not reaching.
Exactly. Worry about that baby. That's all you got to worry about. Worry about you. Worry about the baby. Worry about each other, and everything else will kind of take care of itself, right? Well, listen, guys, we are super proud of you guys. There are big things ahead. You've not tapped out the market yet. There's a lot more members probably waiting right in your existing audience. And when you start pitching them more and you start promoting your stuff more, they're going to really respond. Okay. So keep going. You're doing it together now. That is absolutely amazing. And I can't wait to see the next amazing post in the Success Forum by you guys.
We really appreciate all of your help. It's been a blessing, honestly.
All right. And I think, Katelyn, you have a principle that you're going to share with us, a life-related Bible verse or principle from the Bible that you have that you wanted to share with everybody?
Yeah, it's not a direct quote, but a Bible verse that always sticks with me is, what you hear in the ear, preach on the housetops. And, when I was preparing to join you guys today, it's one of the things that came to mind because I actually think it's something that you all do really well. You really have shared a lot of the knowledge and experience that you've collected. And it's definitely made a difference in our lives. I'm sure it's helped a lot of other people as well.
Love it. I love it. We need to have a baby on every episode.
I know.
If you got a baby, bring them on the show. We're going to start interviewing the babies as well.
One time we had cattle mooing in the background.
Yeah, we had some cattle mooing in the background all the time. That's the Flip Lifestyle podcast. That's how it rolls around here. You know what I'm saying?
My next success story is going to be when the baby starts to tweet. I'll put that in the quote.
Yes.
Exactly. He's on board.
All right, guys, that wraps up another edition of the Flip Lifestyle podcast. What an amazing discussion with Daniel and Katelyn Hulsman.
And their baby.
And their baby. It is so exciting to see people get their entire family on board with their business. We would love to help you change your family's future, just like the Hulsmans. So go to fliplifestyle.com/flipyourlife. We'd love to have you inside the membership community. We've got all the training, coaching, and community support that you need to be successful in your online business. And maybe, like Daniel, you need a little support in your promotions. Maybe you're not quite being prolific enough in getting your content out there, getting your message out there, getting your products out there. Well, I have a print newsletter. That's right, a print newsletter that I send out every single month. It's called Prolific Monthly. And if you go to prolificmonthly.com right now, you can sign up for the next edition of my print newsletter. I include a calendar and tips and copywriting help, everything you need to promote all of your content and all of your products every single day of the month. That's prolificmonthly.com. You got to sign up really fast or you're not going to be able to get it before we send the next print run out. So go to prolificmonthly.com. I would love to help you promote your business every single day. All right, guys, before we go, I know Katelyn shared an amazing principle earlier in the podcast, but I had to share this Bible verse with you guys because it's one of my favorite Bible verses, and it really sums up what it's like to work with your spouse and work inside of a community surrounded by people who are going the same direction as you. It's Ecclesiastes chapter 4, verse 12, and the Bible says, "Though one may be overpowered, two can defend themselves. And a cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken." So hey, listen, get your spouse on board with your dream. Go out there and prove it to them. You may be working on this thing all alone right now, but you can prove it. You can make it happen. Then get them on board. Then surround yourself with other entrepreneurs, other family-focused folks who are going in the same direction so that your dream will not be broken and it will come to pass. That's all the time we've got for this week, guys. Until next time, get out there, take action, and do whatever it takes to flip your life.
Bye.
I hear that baby. That's
He's good, really.
I'm just trying to balance the baby at the
Don't
same
worry.
time. Which,
You're all good. You're all good.
Such
Like,
is life, right?
Great.
That's how the Flip Lifestyle podcast works, baby. We got babies in the background. You know what I'm saying? Our kids have been on air eating chicken, wrestling dogs. It's all good. We're all good.
Yeah, well, we're having some trouble getting this one to take a bottle, so he's getting cranky for the babysitter.
Really, that's the least of our concerns that we ever worry about. So, and if y'all don't like it out there on the podcast, I'm sorry. All right, a little B-roll for you.